30 Zen Stories, learning to stay calm under the pressures of life, to live joyfully every day. Welcome back everyone to Mind Podcast. Reading and enjoying these short classic Zen stories will help you grasp the unique charm of Zen thought in a natural and relaxed way. Although Zen is profound, its form is extremely simple and lively, directly touching the heart without the need for written words. Each story in the book reflects the full wisdom of Zen, the Buddhist classics, and contains profound truths about life. Truly, it is a great book for life enlightenment. 1. Washing dishes and sweeping the yard. A young novice asked Zen master Jiao for guidance. "I'm a new seeker of the way, sincerely asking for some special teachings." Jiao replied, "Have you had breakfast?" "Thank you, I have." "Then, go wash your dishes." "I've already washed them." "Then, go sweep the yard." The young novice, finally feeling frustrated, asked, "Is there no other Zen teaching besides washing dishes and sweeping the yard?" Jiao bluntly replied, "I don't know of any other Zen teaching besides washing dishes and sweeping the yard." This young man couldn't wash dishes or sweep the yard properly. How could he possibly resolve life's greater problems and seek liberation from life and death? There is a saying, "At the end of the meal, I wash the bowl, and suddenly the mind is naturally at peace. Those seeking treasure in the forest of pines will find understanding, though some may not." Zen cannot be separated from daily life. Wearing clothes and eating food is Zen. Carrying firewood and fetching water is Zen. If a person cannot manage life well, where can they find peace in Zen? Zen wisdom. Carrying water and chopping wood, everything is the way. Walking, sitting, lying down, nothing is separate from Zen. Zen is life, and life is Zen. 2. Don't waste your life. There was a lonely man sitting under a tree, basking in the sun. His clothes were ragged and he looked dejected, occasionally yawning. A monk passing by asked out of curiosity, "Young man, the sun is shining so beautifully, and the weather is rare and lovely. Why are you just lazing around, wasting this wonderful time instead of doing something meaningful?" "Ah," the lonely man sighed, "in this world apart from my own body, I have nothing at all, so why should I bother putting effort into anything? Every day, I just lie around with my body, that's my work." "Do you not have a family?" "No, having a family is a burden. I'd rather not have one," the lonely man replied. "Do you have love in your life?" "No, it's better not to love than to end up hating afterward." "Do you have any friends?" "No, it's better not to have friends than to gain and then lose them." "Don't you want to earn money?" "No, wealth comes and goes, why waste energy on it?" The monk said thoughtfully, "It seems I must find a rope for you quickly." "A rope? Why?" the lonely man asked, puzzled. "To help you end your life." "End my life? Are you telling me to die?" the man asked, shocked. "Indeed, life and death are natural. Since you will die anyway, it's better to die now. Your existence is already unnecessary, so ending it makes sense, doesn't it?" The lonely man was speechless. Zen teaches that if life is too idle, don't waste it. But if it's too busy, the true nature may not appear. Therefore, a gentleman should neither harbor resentment nor miss the joys of life. This means that a life of excessive idleness easily leads to delusions and improper thoughts, while a life that is too busy may cause one to miss the simple pleasures. Zen wisdom. A virtuous person must take care of both body and mind, and stay close to nature, enjoying the simple beauty of life. 3. The Zen of everyday life. Five friends went to a Zen monastery to ask the master about the meaning of life. The Zen master said to them, "You all have only 6 months left to live. In these 6 months, I will pray for Buddha to grant you whatever you wish for." The first man thought, "Since I only have 6 months left to live, I will eat the finest foods in the world." So he spent his 6 months dining in restaurants. The second man, without thinking, packed his bags and traveled to all the famous scenic spots in the world. The third man desired to become a government official, and within 6 months, he achieved the position he desired. The fourth man used his time to write a great work. The fifth man, knowing he had only 6 months left, became lethargic and slept away the 6 months. After 6 months, none of them died, so they returned to the Zen master. The master asked, "Have you achieved your desires? In the end, your fate is in your own hands." Suddenly the 5 men became enlightened. In everyday life, people often seem to be led by others, losing their sense of self-control. A single word from someone else can influence their emotions, and they lose their own identity. A person's state of mind can be affected by another's expression, leaving no room for peace. Some even dwell on casual remarks or insignificant matters. The reason for this is a lack of understanding of the Zen principle in life. People must have faith and purpose, and must develop their own set of values and rules for living. All these answers can be found in the Zen mind. One day of farming leads to 1 penny of harvest. Success or failure in life depends on how we position ourselves and take control. Zen wisdom. The Zen mind is one of tolerance, simplicity, equality, and gratitude. The Zen heart is one of self-awareness and humility. Only by understanding life with a Zen heart, experiencing the emotions and joys of ordinary life, can one discover and enjoy the goodness that life offers. 4. The tolerance of Zen. A Zen master was reciting scriptures when a man barged in. He pushed the door forcefully, slammed it shut, and kicked his sandals aside. The master said, "Wait a moment, don't come closer. First, go and apologize to the door and the sandals." The man replied, "What nonsense! I've heard that Zen people are all crazy, and now I see it's true. Why should I apologize to the door and sandals? They're mine." The master calmly responded, "Leave now. Don't ever return. You've become angry at your sandals. Why not ask them for forgiveness? You've grown angry without realizing how foolish it is to be angry at sandals. If you can hold on to your anger, why not hold on to love as well? Relationships are relationships. Anger is also a relationship. When you slam the door full of resentment, you form a relationship with that door. Your actions are wrong, immoral. The door did nothing to you. Go now or don't come back." After hearing this, the man became enlightened. He realized, if I can be angry, why can't I also love? And so he became filled with love. Perhaps for the first time in his life, he gently touched the door, tears welling up in his eyes. He tried to hold back his tears. As he bowed to his sandals, a great transformation occurred within him. He turned toward the master, and the master opened his arms wide to embrace him. Inside and out, crookedness and straightness, a refined needle forged from a rough tree, writing words that are straightforward, neither crooked nor rough, flowing naturally without inside or outside. This structure of straight and crooked forms the word Zen. The world is full of twists and turns, but to see the nature of Zen only takes a single stroke. Those without affinity cannot see it. All the crooked lines are due to karma. Water flows naturally, and the final stroke is enough to see the heart. Zen wisdom. A single word, Zen, can calm the impatient, restore the lost, and comfort those doing good. Seeing this word allows one to relax, cleanse the soul, and maintain the clear and pure stream within the heart. 5. The path of emptiness. Zen master Mazu Daoyi had a disciple named Panshan Baoyi, who had been practicing Zen for many years but had not achieved enlightenment and was becoming increasingly distressed. Eventually, he discarded thousands of books and set off on a long journey. One day, he overheard a passerby telling a butcher, "I want to buy 5 kilograms of the best meat. If it's not the best, I won't buy it." The butcher, selling pork, laughed and replied, "This whole pig is the best from head to toe." Upon hearing this, Baoyi was instantly enlightened. He looked up to the sky and exclaimed, "All choices of taking or leaving arise from the discriminatory mind that accumulates habitual concepts. Discarding attachment to appearances, the mind does not chase after things, and the myriad reflections become emptiness. What difference is there between good and bad?" Zen wisdom. A practitioner must distinguish between the path of practice and the attainment of enlightenment, practicing according to their own karmic conditions and capacity for spiritual practice. The realization of vastness is like empty space. Taking or leaving, the cause and effect are as subtle as a hair. Non-dual Dharma Zen Master Huike, the second patriarch of Zen Buddhism, once cut off his arm to demonstrate his sincere desire for the way. After Bodhidharma passed away, he entrusted the robe and bowl to Huike to continue propagating Zen teachings. One day, a layman came to see Zen Master Huike and said, "I'm afflicted with a serious illness. Please perform a repentance ceremony for me." Zen Master Huike responded as Bodhidharma had once said, "Bring me your sins, and I will perform the ceremony for you." The layman thought for a long time and then said, "I can't find any sins within me." Zen Master Huike said, "I have already performed the ceremony for you. You should now become a monk and follow the Buddha's teachings." The layman said, "Today I met you and realized that I am already a monk, but I still don't understand what the Dharma is." Zen Master Huike replied, "It is the mind, it is the Buddha, it is the mind, it is the Dharma. The Buddha's teachings are non-dual and the Sangha is non-dual." Hearing these words, the layman had a profound awakening and said, "Now I understand that sin is neither inside, outside, nor in between. Just like the mind, the Buddha's teachings are non-dual." Zen wisdom. To practice Zen and attain enlightenment, one must not get entangled in the useless pages of books. True engagement and clear reflection will bring even greater success. 6. Mind arises, Dharma arises. Mind ceases, Dharma ceases. Zen Master Banku's teachings were not only simple and easy to understand, but also often allowed disciples to ask questions at the end of his sermons for immediate clarification, attracting many followers from distant lands. One day a disciple asked, "I've always had a quick temper. How can I change it?" Zen Master Banku responded, "What is this always? Show it to me, and I'll help you change it right away." The disciple answered, "No, it's not present now. It only appears when something happens, and that's when my quick temper emerges." Zen Master Banku said, "If it's not present now and only appears in certain situations, then it's something you create when you're in conflict with others. Now you're calling it always, blaming your parents, which is truly unfair." Enlightened by this teaching, the disciple recognized their mistake and no longer easily became angry. Zen wisdom. In this world, nothing is innate. Everything arises from conditions coming together. Within human nature lies both good and evil. When the mind arises, the Dharma arises. When the mind ceases, the Dharma ceases. As long as one has the heart, no bad habits cannot be corrected. 7. Awakening brings clarity. Liu Shangren, 1887–1992, born in Niki Township, Hexuan County, Sichuan Province, was originally named Hao Yu Jun. He was naturally resolute and possessed extraordinary wisdom. His family was engaged in commerce, but by the time he turned 15, their fortunes had declined, and they fell into extreme poverty. One day, he came across the Diamond Sutra at his aunt's house and had an instant awakening. From that moment, he disregarded fame and fortune and renounced worldly life to seek the way. In 1922, at the Shihong Dongshan Temple, under the guidance of two Zen masters, Benkong and Sima, he received the Dharma name Jue Kong and adopted the name Liu. He practiced asceticism with great determination, undeterred by weather, for 13 continuous years before attaining great enlightenment. Throughout his life, Zen Master Liu practiced diligently, deeply immersing himself in Zen, realizing the essence of the Buddha's mind, and teaching his disciples based on their capacities. He often encouraged them to chant the Buddha's name and aspire to be reborn in the Pure Land. He said, "Human effort is infinite, while the Buddha's compassionate vow and power are limited. Human effort is like a small needle, while the Buddha's power is like a vast magnetic mountain." In our Buddhist practice, we must clarify the mind and realize the true nature to eliminate personal obstacles. Along with sincere devotion and effort in chanting the Buddha's name, we can receive the boundless guidance of the Buddha's power, which is the shortest path. Regarding Buddhist practice, Zen Master Liu believed that the essential point of learning the way is to eliminate delusive thoughts. The Tripitaka can be summarized in 2 words: abandon delusion. The delusive mind and the true mind are 2 sides of the same reality. When the delusive mind fades, the true mind naturally appears. The ancient sages said, "Kill the delusive mind to let the Dharma body, the true mind, live." How can one abandon delusion? It is necessary to develop a great mind, practice diligently, resolve to escape the cycle of birth and death, and widely benefit sentient beings. At all times, one must examine the 3 karmas of body, speech, and mind, and control the 6 disciples: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. The ancient sages used to carry a cloth bag daily. Whenever an evil thought arose, they would place a black bean in the bag. Whenever a good thought arose, they would place a white bean in it. At midnight, they would count how many good and evil thoughts they had each day. Initially, there were more black beans and fewer white beans. Gradually, the white beans increased and the black beans decreased. This method focuses the practice on action. In short, to set one's determination in the movement of the mind, one must avoid tricks and cunning. Some lay people new to Buddhism asked, "We have many distracting and delusive thoughts. What should we do?" Zen Master Liu replied, "At all times and in all places, control your 6 disciples." They looked at each other, saying, "We don't have any disciples." One layperson suddenly realized, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Zen Master Liu smiled and said, "Exactly. For those learning the way, delusive thoughts are like stains on a white cloth. It's not easy to clean them. You must frequently chant the Buddha's name, purify the 3 karmas of body, speech, and mind, and diligently recite the sutras and pay homage to the Buddha. In time, you will awaken. Once you awaken, you will be clear. In life, everything arises from these 6 disciples. If you can control them, your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind will also be purified. Your life will be purified, and where will worries come from? Strike decisively. It's like waking from a dream." Zen wisdom, the principles of understanding the Buddha, practicing contemplation of the Buddha, the virtue of studying the Buddha, and the wisdom of becoming the Buddha. Chanting the Buddha's name must begin from the heart. Learning Buddhism must start with action. Chant with sincerity, meditate with a calm mind, stabilize the mind in chanting, and chant with no mind. Words should never stray from righteous reasoning. Actions should never stray from righteous conduct, and the mind should never stray from Amitabha. This is the enlightened Zen path of Zen Master Liu in one lifetime. 8. Zen without discriminating mind. One day, while Zen Master Mazu and a student were taking a walk, the student asked, "What is Buddha?" Mazu replied, "The sky is blue, the trees are green." The student said, "I understand this." At that moment, Mazu pointed ahead and said, "Watch your step." A venomous snake was crawling toward the student, who jumped back in fear. In that instant, all his knowledge vanished. The blue sky and green trees disappeared, and his understanding of them became useless. Mazu's words, "The sky is blue, the trees are green," were not knowledge, but rather the mind without distinctions. What is called knowledge is the discriminating, logical thinking of the masses. Seeing a mountain as a mountain and spotting something that resembles a monkey on the mountain, we think of mountain monkeys, which leads to random, wandering thoughts. Mazu used this example to answer the student's question, "What is Buddha?" The student replied, "I understand," but in reality, he didn't truly understand. When the snake appeared, he panicked, proving the point. In that moment of panic, it was his knowledge that failed him. Mazu's words, "Watch your step," were a profound teaching. This story teaches us that knowledge alone cannot save us or help us in life. Instead, what are you doing in the present moment? At that moment, keep your heart clear. When you do something, just do that. Even if you understand that the sky is blue and the trees are green as truth, if you cannot maintain a clear heart, this knowledge will not clarify your life. Zen wisdom. Every present moment requires wholehearted focus. The mind in the present is neither subject nor object. You are simply acting clearly in this moment to help all sentient beings. This is the action of the great compassion of the Bodhisattva. 9. All things are cause and effect. To receive, you must first give. This is a principle that ancient people understood long ago. One must first give, not take. Giving means offering, sacrificing. Giving is to receive more in return. Giving a little often brings greater reward. When fishing, you must first use bait. This is giving a little to get a lot. Merchants cast wide nets to catch big fish, implementing strategies like discounts to attract customers, applying the principle of to receive, you must first give. Zen teachings also emphasize this point to awaken people to the core truth of giving and receiving. A merchant, struggling with declining business, sought advice from Zen master Shishan. The master said, "Behind the temple, there is a water pump. Go fetch me a bucket of water." The merchant, sweating, returned and said, "Master, there's no water in the pump." The master replied, "Then go down the mountain and buy me a bucket of water." The merchant left and returned with only half a bucket. The master said, "Didn't I ask for a full bucket? Why did you only bring half?" Embarrassed, the merchant explained, "I didn't want to spend too much money, and it was a long, hard climb. But I need a full bucket of water. Go again," the master insisted. The merchant went down the mountain and brought back a full bucket of water. The master said, "Now I can tell you how to solve your problem." He led the merchant to the water pump and said, "Pour half the bucket into the pump." The merchant, puzzled, hesitated, but finally did as instructed. He pumped the handle, but nothing came out, just a sucking sound. The pump had swallowed all the water. The merchant suddenly realized the truth. He poured the entire bucket in and pumped again, and this time, a stream of fresh water gushed out. Zen wisdom: everything arises from cause and effect. If you don't first give your own water, if there's not enough pressure, the pump won't reward you with a single drop. To receive more, you must first give generously. 10. Unchanging Zen. There were 2 temples, and the monks from one temple, when going to the market to buy food, always had to pass by the other temple. Each time they did, the monks from the second temple would come out to debate Dharma with them. One morning, a young monk went to the market to buy food, and as he passed by the gate of the other temple, a young monk from that temple blocked his way. "Where are you going?" the young monk asked. "I go wherever my feet take me," replied the young monk. Not knowing how to respond, the first monk admitted defeat and returned to his master for guidance. His master said, "Tomorrow, ask him again. If he responds the same way, you ask, 'If you didn't have feet, where would you go?' He won't be able to answer that." The next day, the young monk eagerly awaited in front of the gate, confident he would win this time. When he saw the monk from the previous day heading to the market, he rushed over and asked, "Where are you going?" "I go wherever the wind takes me," the monk calmly replied. Once again, the young monk was at a loss for words and returned to his master. This time, the master was a bit disappointed and said, "How could you be so foolish? Ask him, if there were no wind, where would you go? If he says something like, 'I go wherever the water takes me,' then ask, 'If there were no water, where would you go?' He won't be able to answer." Encouraged by these instructions, the young monk was even more determined. The next day, he positioned himself by the gate early, ready to challenge the other monk. When he saw the monk carrying a basket on his way to the market, he rushed over and quickly asked, "Where are you going?" "I'm going to the market to buy vegetables," the monk replied calmly. Once again, the young monk found himself speechless. Zen wisdom: when things are pushed to their limit, they change. When change occurs, clarity follows, and clarity lasts. As the saying goes, the Bodhi tree is not a tree, the clear mirror is not a stand. From the beginning there is not a single thing, where could dust possibly cling? 11. The inexpressible true nature Zen master Liang Quan lived in a humble straw hut at the foot of a mountain, leading a life of extreme simplicity. One evening, after returning from giving a Dharma talk, he encountered a thief in his hut. The thief, seeing the master, neither panicked nor fled. Master Liang Quan kindly said, "There's nothing here that you can take, except perhaps this robe I'm wearing." The thief took the robe and hurried away. After the thief left, Master Liang Quan, now shirtless, sighed, "I only regret that I cannot give you the bright moon." The bright moon here symbolizes one's true nature, which is as luminous as the moon, a priceless treasure. If one could recognize the precious nature within themselves, there would be no need to take anything from others. Zen wisdom: the master's regret was that while he could give worldly possessions, he could not impart the eternal treasure, one's true nature. This is a reminder to all that everyone possesses the priceless Buddha nature, so why fall into the path of a thief? 12. The Buddha nature of a tree. A student once asked Zen master Zhaozhou, "What is the Dharma that the patriarchs from the West have transmitted?" Zhaozhou replied, "The cypress tree in front of the courtyard." Others asked the same question, but Zhaozhou's answer remained unchanged. Finally, a student asked, "Does the cypress tree have Buddha nature?" Zhaozhou affirmed, "Yes, it does." The student then asked, "When will the cypress tree become a Buddha?" Zhaozhou replied, "When space falls to the ground, the cypress tree will become a Buddha." The question of when the cypress tree will become a Buddha is unnecessary, as it only leads to more distinctions, causing the student to stray further from the way. Still unsatisfied, the student asked, "When will space fall to the ground?" Zhaozhou replied, "When the cypress tree becomes a Buddha." In Zen, worldly phenomena are considered expressions of the divine. Though these things may be inanimate, they can still teach the Dharma to sentient beings, affirming their mutual existence. This is the power of great compassion. In the eyes of a Zen practitioner, Even a blade of grass or a tree has its own existence. Zen wisdom. A healthy life is one filled with awareness of nature. Humans do not just live in a material world, but must also exist in a realm of conscious beings, living with love and awareness. 13. A meal from 1,000 homes. Human nature longs for freedom. True freedom is a heart unbound by bias, desires, or delusions of the self, allowing feelings of life to flow freely within. This affirms one's inner self and allows for calm, independent judgment. Life is neither lowly nor hurried, and this freedom can only be described as a sense of inner peace, a joy that fills the heart. A disciple once asked a Zen master, "What is true freedom in human nature?" The master replied, "The clouds drift, the clouds return." The disciple didn't understand, so the master told a story. In the past, a group of merchants wanted to embark on a long journey. Since they were unfamiliar with the route, they hired a guide and set off. One day, they arrived at a desolate place where there was a temple. According to local custom, they had to sacrifice one person to pass safely through. After discussing it, they all agreed that since they were like family to one another, they should sacrifice the guide, who was an outsider. After making the sacrifice, they resumed their journey. But without a guide, they lost their way and wandered aimlessly in the wilderness. In the end, they all perished from exhaustion. Zen wisdom. The guide in this story represents our inherent freedom. Just as the merchant's attachment to appearances obstructed their true nature, we too lose our ability to awaken when we let external factors cloud our judgment and awareness, leading us into the wilderness of ignorance. 14. Cutting off hope. One day, the Buddha looked down from the well of hell and saw countless souls suffering in agony, tormented by the flames of hell. These were individuals who had committed countless evil deeds in their past lives. Among them, a thief, noticing the Buddha's compassion, pleaded for help. The Buddha knew that this man had committed many wrongs, stealing others' possessions, taking countless lives. However, the Buddha also knew that the thief had done at least one good deed. Once, while walking on a road, the thief was about to step on a small spider. But in that moment, he felt a flicker of compassion and chose to step aside, sparing the spider's life. That was the rare act of kindness in his otherwise immoral life. Recalling this, the Buddha decided the man still had some goodness within him. And thus, he chose to use the strength of that small spider to save the thief from his suffering. The Buddha let down a single spider's thread into the well of hell. The thief, spotting the thread like a lifeline, clung to it and began to climb with all his might. However, others in the pit, seeing the opportunity to escape, grabbed onto the thread as well. No matter how much the thief cursed and screamed, they wouldn't let go. The number of people climbing the thread increased, and the thief feared it wouldn't hold their combined weight. He gave up his only chance of escape, took out a knife, and cut the thread. As a result, the thread vanished, and everyone, including the thief, fell back into the depths of hell, condemned to endless suffering. The thief, having lost his last bit of compassion, could no longer be saved by the Buddha. In truth, the spider's thread, bestowed by the Buddha, could never have broken. A small act of kindness can save many lives. But a single act of evil can destroy even the greatest hope. The source of goodness lies within the heart, cultivated over time. But evil arises in a moment, born from greed and desire, and ultimately destroys all hope. Zen wisdom. Zen teaches that by experiencing goodness in one realm, we can gain insight into this world and our inner selves. Ultimately, it is all within us. 15. Misunderstanding. There was once a man who lived in great misery, always doubting those around him. He was constantly calculating every action and remained ever suspicious, which left him exhausted. Seeking relief, he went to a Zen master for advice. After explaining his situation, he asked, "How can one find happiness in life?" The Zen master replied, "With tolerance, you will naturally feel light. With clear eyes, your heart will be at peace." Still doubtful, the man asked, "But what if someone close to me tries to harm me?" The Zen master smiled and replied, "People won't harm you. What harms you is your own heart." He continued, "Let me tell you a story, and you will understand. There was a man who got married and had a child. Sadly, his wife died during childbirth, leaving him with a baby boy. The man, burdened with life's demands, had no one to care for his child, so he trained a dog to help. The dog was smart and obedient, feeding the child and comforting him when necessary. One day, the man had to leave the house due to a heavy snowstorm and could not return until the next day. Upon his return, the dog rushed to greet him, but as the man opened the door, he was horrified. Blood was everywhere, in the room, on the bed, and his child was nowhere to be seen. The dog's mouth was covered in blood. Enraged, the man assumed the dog had killed his child and, in a fit of fury, he grabbed a knife and killed the dog. Moments later, he heard the sound of his child crying. To his surprise, the baby was unharmed, crawling out from under the bed. He was confused and began to investigate. That's when he discovered the body of a wolf nearby, with the dog's flesh still in its mouth. The dog had sacrificed itself to protect the child. The Zen master concluded, "In this world, all living beings are equal. Killing out of a momentary misunderstanding brings about immense karmic consequences. Don't let impulsive judgments blind you. Remember this." The man was suddenly enlightened. He realized that misunderstandings often arise from overthinking others' faults, and the more one dwells on them, the deeper the misunderstanding becomes, leading to irreversible consequences. If such tragic misunderstandings can arise with animals, the impact of misunderstandings between people can be even more devastating. Zen wisdom. Zen teaches that doubt blinds people from understanding and acting rightly. By seeing through and letting go of doubt, we gain the courage and determination to accomplish anything. 16. The attraction of Zen. Zen is like a mirror that reflects the human mind. It is like a lamp that lights the way for the heart. Zen is a deep experience of the soul. Although this invisible path is difficult to traverse, once one has attained Zen, they reach a realm of truth and transformation, capable of profoundly inspiring others. There was a wealthy woman who, despite her fortune, status, beauty, and power, was deeply lonely and without a close companion. So, she sought out Zen Master Wude, asking how she could become more attractive to others. The Zen Master replied, "You can cooperate with anyone, anywhere, and if you have the compassionate heart of the Buddha, speak Zen words, hear Zen sounds, and do Zen deeds with a Zen heart, you will become truly attractive." After hearing this, the woman asked, "What are Zen words?" The master answered, "Zen words are kind, truthful, humble, and beneficial to others." The woman then asked, "What is the sound of Zen?" The master said, "The sound of Zen transforms all sounds into something wonderful. It turns insults into compassionate words, slander into support, and even harsh cries into sounds you can embrace. That is the sound of Zen." She continued, "What are Zen deeds?" The Zen master replied, "Zen deeds are acts of charity, kindness, and service aligned with the Buddhist teachings." Lastly, the woman asked, "What is the Zen heart?" The Zen master said, "The Zen heart is the heart shared between you and me. The heart that connects the saint and the ordinary, the heart that embraces everything, and the heart that saves all beings." Upon hearing this, the woman changed her ways. She no longer flaunted her wealth or beauty, becoming humble and considerate to others. She was attentive to her family and became known as the most attractive benefactor. Thus, Zen is a philosophy, a wisdom, and a way of thinking. In today's fast-paced society, it's even more essential for us to regularly reflect on ourselves and care for our souls. When we cultivate a sanctuary within our hearts, sparks of wisdom can ignite. Zen wisdom. Zen is life itself. A life infused with Zen holds boundless power, earning respect and value everywhere. With Zen, your future will be radiant and bright. 17. The strict master of Mount Yi. In the freezing month of December, a monk named Dikshui came to visit Zen Master Yishan at Tianlong Temple. Master Yishan's rules were strict, and he was known for being very private, not allowing anyone to visit casually. He rarely welcomed traveling monks or pilgrims, offering them neither accommodation nor rest. On this particular day, despite the heavy snowstorm, Master Yishan refused to let Dikshui enter the temple. The monk knelt at the door, remaining in that position for 3 days without moving, even as the snow soaked him through. The disciples of Master Yishan, moved by his pitiful condition, pleaded on his behalf, but Master Yishan responded, "This is not an inn, and we do not take in those with no place to stay." The disciples, left with no other option, withdrew. By the 4th day, the monk's body had begun to bleed from the cold wind tearing at his skin. He collapsed and stood up repeatedly, yet continued to kneel at the door, unmoved by the harsh weather. Master Yishan ordered his disciples not to open the door under any circumstances, warning them that if they did, they would all be expelled. On the 7th day, when the monk could bear no more and finally collapsed, Master Yishan went out to check his breath. Seeing that there was still a faint sign of life, he ordered his disciples to bring him inside. Dikshui was eventually allowed to enter the temple and study under Master Yishan. He studied rigorously and once asked the master, "What is the difference between non-word and prajna?" "You arrogant fool! How dare you ask such a question?" Yishan roared before striking Dikshui and throwing him out of the Dharma hall. Saddened, Dikshui returned to the monk's quarters. But as the door slammed shut behind him, Dikshui suddenly attained enlightenment. He realized, both existence and non-existence are thin layers of my consciousness. When you look at me, I exist. When I look at myself, I do not. Another time, Dikshui was seen using white paper to blow his nose. Master Yishan harshly scolded him. "Is your nose so precious? This white paper was not easy to come by, and here you are disrespecting it. What kind of practice is that?" Many of the novice monks could not endure the cold, harsh ways of Master Yishan and left. But Dikshui persisted, saying, "There are 3 types of monks. The inferior kind, who thrive only because of their master's influence, the middle kind, who are drawn to the master's compassion and cling to him, and the superior kind, who mature under the master's hammer and forge their own path." Zen wisdom, Dikshui was a superior monk, growing each day under the hammer of discipline. As the saying goes, being beaten often only makes you stand taller and bend your back straighter. 18. Dead water cannot hold a dragon. Zen master Liangshan Duyuan of the early Song dynasty, residing on Mount Liang in Hunan, served as the Dharma successor to Zen master Dayang Jingshuan. He had a verse that went, "The song of Mount Liang, hard for those beyond to harmonize, 10 years searching for a kindred spirit, never found even one." One day, a novice monk came to ask him, "Finding a kindred spirit is a rare thing in life, but being betrayed by someone close is even worse. How can we guard against those who harm us from within?" Master Duan replied, "Know people, understand them, change them, and make use of them. Why guard against them?" The monk asked further, "It's easy to use an army, but how can we use a traitor from within?" Master Duan responded, "Invite them to dwell in the water of non-birth." The monk continued, "But is there truly no place of refuge?" Master Duan answered, "Dead water cannot hold a dragon." The monk then asked, "What is the nature of living water that holds a dragon?" Master Duyuan replied, "The clouds are happy but do not release fog." Still unsatisfied, the monk asked, "What if the joyful clouds bring rain?" Master Duyuan got out of bed, grabbed the monk, and said, "Be careful not to wet the robe of this old monk." Wang Yangming, a master of Zen, once said, "It's easy to defend against mountain bandits, but guarding against the bandits of the heart is difficult." He also said, "The mind, like a king, can issue commands, but when the mind becomes an enemy, it's truly hard to defend against." When our Zen mind is not truly realized, the rootless wandering mind is hard to control. But Master Duan wisely noted that by knowing, understanding, transforming, and using people, there is no need to guard against them. This is akin to how Zhuge Liang captured and reformed Meng Huo 7 times, using compassion to eliminate future troubles. Zen wisdom. The ideal place is the water of non-birth, where the mind finds no place to reside. The mind cannot settle within the body's 5 aggregates or in the 6 sensory realms. For where there is dead water, no dragon can exist. Even if joyful clouds pour rain, it cannot drench the monk's robe. 19. Zen does not debate. A 7-year-old child often came to visit Zen Master Wude, chattering nonsense. Yet Master Wude saw the child as unusually wise, believing that his words held hidden Zen meaning. One day, Master Wude said to the boy, "I am always busy and have no time to chat with you. Let's have a debate. If you lose, you must buy cakes as an offering for me. If I lose, I will buy cakes for you." The boy replied, "Then Master, you should hand over the money first." Master Wude said, "Money is only necessary if you lose. Winning doesn't require it. Let's begin. I will be a rooster." The boy responded, "Then I will be a small worm." Master Wude seized the moment. "In that case, since you're a little worm, go and buy cakes for this big rooster to eat." The boy retorted, "No way, Master. You should buy cakes for me instead. You're a big rooster." and I'm a little worm. When I see you, I can fly away. So, Master, you can't win this argument. Haven't you already lost? Master Wude, impressed, took the child by the hand and showed him to many people, saying, "This is like politics and warfare. If the authorities cannot make a judgment, they must ask the villagers. Here are 300 villagers, and those who cannot speak will not be protected. So, everyone, please judge between me and the boy, who is right." No one could reach a conclusion. So, Master Wude gravely said, "Only Zen Master Staredown can decide this." 3 days later, after everyone in the temple had taken notice, Master Wude secretly bought cakes for the boy. The rooster and the little worm, these two Zen beings, likely had many more interesting stories between them. In the end, although Master Wude wanted to win, the 7-year-old boy willingly became a small worm, avoiding the rooster's beak, symbolizing that no debate could take place. Zen wisdom. In Zen, there is no big or small, no long or short, no right or wrong, no good or bad, and of course no winning or losing. Zen is the world of no debate. The karma of the tongue. The tongue is one of the 6 senses, and because of it, many misfortunes have arisen throughout history. We are supposed to be the masters of our tongues, commanding it to say what we want, rather than letting it control us. Unfortunately, for most people, the tongue becomes the master, and they seem unable to control it. This lack of control often leads to great misfortune. In the past, there was a monk whose disciple, Lan Cheng, often slept until noon. One day, the monk called out to his disciple, saying loudly, "You're still sleeping, but even the turtles have crawled out to sunbathe by the pond." At that moment, someone overheard the monk and, needing a turtle to treat his mother's illness, rushed to the pond. Sure enough, there were many turtles basking in the sun, so he caught a few to make soup for his mother. In gratitude, he brought some turtle soup to the monk. The monk, feeling guilty for causing the death of the turtles, vowed never to speak again. A few days later, the monk was sitting in front of the temple when he saw a blind man heading toward the pond. The monk wanted to warn the blind man not to walk forward, but remembering his vow, chose to remain silent. As the internal conflict raged within him, the blind man fell into the pond. This incident caused the monk great sorrow, and he realized that one cannot remain silent forever, nor speak endlessly. Making mistakes is human, but forgiveness is divine. We must not only learn to forgive others but also forgive ourselves. We must become the masters of our tongues and not let them control our minds. Speak only when necessary, and speak with wisdom. In doing so, we avoid being entangled in fortune or misfortune. Zen wisdom. We must use wisdom to navigate this world. The art of speech lies in speaking softly, politely, and with decorum. If we wish to avoid disputes or criticism, we must learn to speak appropriately in the right circumstances. 21. The mind no better than a clown. People tend to gather in groups, and one of human nature's characteristics is to find glory and acceptance in pleasure. Success is seen as the fulfillment of pleasure, and some understand the deeper meaning of existence. Seeing through the illusions of the world, instantly entering the gate of emptiness, the disciples of Buddhism take Zen as their virtue, purify the 6 senses, have no deluded thoughts, and direct their hearts toward the Buddha. Such individuals comprehend the true meaning of life. Zen Master Bayan Shodian practiced Zen under Zen Master Fang Hui for a long time without attaining enlightenment. One day, Master Fang Hui found an opportunity to help him. While chatting in front of the temple square, Fang Hui asked Shodian, "Do you remember how your master attained enlightenment?" Bayan Shodian replied, "My master fell one day, and that's how he was enlightened." After attaining the way, he recited this verse, "I have a pearl of clarity, trapped in the net of worldly dust. Now that the dust is gone, light shines, illuminating the mountains and rivers." Upon hearing this, Zen Master Fang Hui laughed playfully, causing Shodian to feel uneasy. He thought, "Did I say something wrong? Where did I go wrong? Why did Master laugh at me?" Shodian couldn't forget Fang Hui's laughter. Days later, he lost his appetite and often woke up startled by the sound of Fang Hui's laughter in his dreams. Unable to bear it any longer, Shodian went to ask his master for clarification. Zen Master Fang Hui listened to his disciples' troubles and said, "Have you ever watched the clown performing with a monkey in the square in front of the temple? The clown sweats profusely just to get a laugh from the audience. That day, I laughed at you, but instead of being pleased, you became anxious, losing your appetite and sleep. A person so concerned with external opinions is no better than the clown performing with a monkey. How can you grasp the Zen principles of formlessness and no mind? Isn't this how most of us live? We are often happy or sad because of others' laughter or jokes, placing our happiness in the ever-changing world of desires. We obsess over a single word, become dejected over one event, and lose ourselves because of one person, living in lifelong suffering due to a single mistaken thought. Zen wisdom: if we can strengthen our focus and not be swayed by external circumstances, we will reduce our suffering. Letting go of comparisons and judgments allows us to avoid unnecessary troubles. With no mind, life feels as refreshing as being washed in the spring breeze, free from worries. 22. The Pure Land within the mind. Zen teaches that we should seek the Buddha within ourselves, not outside of our bodies. When our true nature is diluted, we are ordinary beings. When our true nature is awakened, we are Buddha. This means that becoming a good person is equivalent to becoming a Buddha, and there's no need to seek enlightenment outside of ourselves. Someone once asked the sixth patriarch, "We often see monks and laypeople chanting sutras and praying to the bodhisattvas, hoping for rebirth in the Western Pure Land. Can humans really be reborn in the Western Pure Land?" The sixth patriarch replied, "What Western Pure Land? There is no place called the Western Pure Land. The Pure Land is within our hearts. Our hearts are the Buddha." He continued, "The ignorant chant the Buddha's name and pray to be reborn there. The enlightened purify their hearts. That's why the Buddha said, 'Wherever the heart is pure, there lies the Pure Land.' If one's heart is pure in the East, the Pure Land arises. If one's heart is impure in the West, then being in the West is in vain. Those with impure hearts cannot be Buddhas." Ordinary people do not understand that the heart itself is the key to the Pure Land. They chant and pray, hoping for rebirth in the Pure Land. But for those with great wisdom, wherever you reside, there is peace. Someone once asked a Zen master, "I often see monks and lay people chanting Amitabha Buddha's name, hoping for rebirth in the Western Pure Land. Is that possible?" The Zen master replied, "First, the Pure Land is not far away. It is within your heart, so there is no need to search for it. Second, there are wise people and foolish people. The wise understand that the Buddha is in their hearts, while the foolish believe the Buddha is far away. Therefore, the ignorant chant the Buddha's name and pray to be reborn there, while the enlightened purify their hearts. As the Buddha said, wherever the heart is pure, there lies the Pure Land." If the Pure Land is merely a matter of distance, then are all those who live in the West already Buddhas? Of course not. The Zen master continued, "Anywhere can be a place of peace. If people have good hearts, the Western Pure Land is not far away. If their hearts are impure, no amount of chanting will help them reach it. Therefore, first eliminate the 10 evils, then the 8 deviations, and gradually purify the heart. In time, you will see Amitabha." The sixth patriarch once said, "If you don't see the faults and virtues of others or gossip about people, your heart will be purified. However, if you cling to the concepts of heart and purity, it will also hinder your spiritual path." Zen wisdom. The Chinese monk Zhigong is considered a Buddha by many, because he was a good person who performed virtuous deeds and eradicated evil. 23. The Dharma doors in Zen. The Dharma doors are the 84,000 paths of wisdom that arise from the intrinsic nature of prajna, transcendental wisdom, meant to eradicate 84,000 worldly afflictions. These doors help individuals understand the principle of the middle way and find a method that suits their own nature. Once, while the Buddha was seated in meditation in a monastery, a man knelt before him, looking dejected, waiting for enlightenment. Soon, the Buddha opened his eyes and asked, "What's troubling you? Go ahead and ask." Buddha: "Ever since I began following Buddhism, my father has strongly disapproved. He believes the precepts of Buddhism are too vast and strict, that they are impossible to observe, and it's better not to learn them at all. He insists on his view, and no matter how much I explain, he won't accept it. I'm afraid my father will be trapped in the cycle of birth and death, falling into evil realms and enduring great suffering. I beg you to save him." The Buddha replied, "Your father has sharp faculties. Just tell him this story. and he will surely correct his ways, turning from ignorance to enlightenment. What is the story, Buddha? Please share. The Buddha then told this story. There was once a foolish man who wandered for days through a wilderness without a drop of water to drink. His eyes were sunken with thirst, and his body was drenched in sweat from the heat. He desperately followed a path in search of water, but found none. Suddenly he saw a river in the distance, clear and pure. However, he stood there for half a day, unwilling to go drink. A fellow traveler, feeling puzzled, asked, "Aren't you thirsty? Why won't you drink the water?" The foolish man, clutching his dry throat, replied, "You don't understand. There's so much water. How could I possibly drink it all? I'm afraid my stomach can't hold that much water, so I decided not to drink any at all." The traveler shook his head in disbelief, saying, "What a pitiful and ignorant man." After hearing this story, the young man returned home and recounted it to his father. Upon hearing it, his father became enlightened and joined his son in learning Buddhism. This is the essence of Buddhism. All things are empty. There is neither relative nor absolute. The 84,000 Dharma doors, yet the first is the Dharma of non-duality. When people enter this door, they transcend birth and death and can become Buddhas. Non-duality is a profound concept that cannot be fully explained in words. Simply put, it is neither one nor two. There is no distinction between this and that. This is non-duality. Zen wisdom. There may be 3,000 miles of the river Niagara, but just one ladle of its water can quench your thirst. Though there are 84,000 Dharma doors in Buddhism, if one sincerely practices even one, they can gain great benefit. 24. The wonder of Zen. There was once a scholar studying at a temple who was diligent and keen to engage in debates about Zen principles with Zen master Zhaozhou. One day he asked the master, "The Buddha is compassionate and when guiding sentient beings always respects their wishes and doesn't go against them. Is this really true?" Zen master Zhaozhou replied, "Yes, it's true." The scholar continued, "I really want the staff that the master holds. Can my wish be fulfilled?" Zhaozhou refused, saying, "A gentleman does not take what is rightfully someone else's. Do you understand?" The scholar argued back, "But I'm not a gentleman." Zhaozhou replied, "And I'm not a Buddha." Though the scholar disagreed, he had no choice but to concede. Another day, while the scholar was meditating, Zhaozhou passed by, but the scholar didn't get up to greet him. The master scolded, "When you see an elder, you should stand and show respect." The scholar, imitating the master, said, "I am greeting you by sitting, just as if I were standing." Zhaozhou responded by slapping him. The scholar, angry, exclaimed, "Why did you hit me?" Zhaozhou calmly replied, "I hit you as though I didn't hit you." Using this reverse logic, Zhaozhou left the scholar confused yet seemingly enlightened. Later, someone painted a portrait of Zhaozhou and presented it to him. Zhaozhou remarked, "If this portrait truly represents me, then kill me. If it doesn't, burn it." Zhaozhou's physical form was merely a fleeting, conditioned entity, brought into existence by dependent origination. It wasn't the true Zhaozhou. A portrait may resemble Zhaozhou, but it is not the real Zhaozhou, as the real Zhaozhou transcends form and cannot be defined. If the portrait could truly represent Zhaozhou, it would mean there are two Zhaozhous. Since there can only be one, we must either discard or destroy the other. Zen wisdom. Zen is wondrous. The Tao way is everywhere and can manifest in any place. Only when the mind transcends form can we encounter our true self. 25. Formless and shapeless. The sixth patriarch, Huineng, once taught, "The key to Zen is to see one's true nature and attain enlightenment, becoming a Buddha. Only by transmitting the teaching of seeing the true nature can we overcome false schools and enter the world beyond." Through his teaching, Huineng enabled later generations to go straight to the source of the mind, popularizing the Dharma gate of sudden enlightenment. Zen master Dishan had studied the Diamond Sutra deeply and had written a commentary called Qinglong's Commentary. Hearing about the Southern school's teaching of sudden enlightenment and becoming a Buddha, he felt a bit skeptical and decided to go south to debate with Master Huineng. On his way, feeling hungry, Dishan stopped at a small shop to buy some snacks. The shop was run by an elderly woman who, seeing Dishan, asked, "What are you carrying on your shoulders?" "The Diamond Sutra and Qinglong's Commentary," he replied. The old woman said, "Let me test your understanding of the Diamond Sutra. If you answer correctly, the food will be free as an offering. Ask away. Deshan confidently replied. The woman asked, the Diamond Sutra says, the past mind is unattainable, the present mind is unattainable, and the future mind is unattainable. So great monk, which mind do you wish to eat with? Deshan was stunned and didn't know how to answer. His earlier confidence vanished. He realized that the Southern school's teaching of sudden enlightenment had been confirmed by this old woman. Time may be categorized into past, present, and future, but the true mind transcends these distinctions. It is not bound by time. It remains unchanged from the ancient past to the present, becoming new with each moment. Zen wisdom. Buddha nature is formless and shapeless. No words or forms can express it, and it cannot be grasped with names or appearances. In life, many things cannot be fully explained through logic. We must follow the natural course of things. 26. I and objects are one. Zen practitioners believe that true creativity is creating the void. When one looks at Mount Dahai, they create Mount Dahai. When one mentions a cypress tree, they create a cypress tree. There is no separation between self and the world. Objects and self unite. Living with a true understanding of the equal force in everything, where self and objects are not separated, is what makes a true Zen practitioner. One day, Sudongpo and Chin Shaoyo were dining together. Both were accomplished scholars and frequently engaged in debates about the Tao, never conceding to one another. That day, they saw a man passing by who, having not bathed for days, was covered in lice. Sudongpo remarked, "That man is filthy, he's covered in lice." Chin Shaoyo disagreed, saying, "Not at all. The lice come from the wool." Both stuck to their viewpoints, arguing endlessly. They decided to ask Zen Master Fo Yin to judge how lice are born, and the loser would have to treat the other to a drink. Eager to win, Sudongpo secretly went to see Fo Yin, asking for his support. Later, Chin Shaoyo also sought the master's help. Fo Yin gave the same response to both of them. Confident, both men awaited the verdict, which came as follows. The heads of lice are born from filth, while their legs are born from wool. The Zen master's answer was purposefully ambiguous. As a verse goes, a single tree stands in the spring breeze, the southern branches feel warmth, the northern branches feel cold. Presently, a piece of the western intention first sways west, then sways east. This refers to the concept of self and objects being one, where self and the object are not separate. The external form of mountains and earth is like the internal nature of those same mountains and earth. The great universe is within the mind, and there is no fundamental difference between objects and self. Just as with a tree, though each leaf may receive the same air, sunlight, and water, the leaves grow differently, yet they coexist harmoniously on the same tree without hindrance. Zen wisdom. Zen emphasizes the unity of heaven and man, the forgetting of both self and objects. It focuses on spiritual communication and creativity through the unity of thought and scenery. 27. The great bird flying beyond life and death. There was once a Zen student named Dao Tu who diligently practiced Zen, but despite his dedication, he never attained enlightenment. He saw others who began their Zen journey after him reaching enlightenment, and he began to feel unworthy of the practice, seeing himself as lacking both wisdom and flexibility. He thought to himself, perhaps I should become an ascetic and go on a pilgrimage. Before leaving, Dao Tu went to bid farewell to Zen Master Guanwu, saying, "Master, I have disappointed your kindness. Although I've studied under you for over 10 years, I've gained no understanding of Zen. I'm simply not fit to learn Zen. I now ask for your leave to go on a pilgrimage." Master Guanwu was surprised and asked, "Why leave because you haven't attained enlightenment? Do you think you'll find it elsewhere?" Dao Tu responded earnestly, "Every day, apart from eating and sleeping, I devote myself to cultivating the way. I work hard, but it seems my efforts are in vain. On the other hand, I see my fellow students returning to their true nature, and I feel discouraged. I think I should become an ascetic and travel the world." Master Guanwu gave him a teaching. Enlightenment is an inner expression of one's true nature. It cannot be explained or passed on to others, nor can it be obtained through rush or force. Others, enlightenment is their own experience. Your Zen practice is your own. These are two separate things. Why do you confuse them? Dao Tu replied, "Master, you don't understand. Compared to my peers, I feel as small as a sparrow next to the great rock." Master Guanwu, pretending not to understand, asked, "How big is the rock? How small is the sparrow?" Dao Tu explained, "The rock spreads its wings and can fly for hundreds of miles, while I can only hop around a small patch of grass." Master Guanwu then asked a profound question. "The rock may be able to fly hundreds of miles, but has it ever flown beyond life and death?" Hearing this, Dao Tu fell silent, as if suddenly enlightened. Even though the great rock can soar for thousands of miles, it cannot fly beyond the vast ocean of life and death. The sparrow, though small, still experiences life the same way. Only by eliminating comparison and returning to one's own true nature can one attain enlightenment. Zen wisdom. Comparison and calculation are the sources of suffering. How can one reach enlightenment through Zen if they are constantly comparing themselves to others? As the saying goes, comparison only leads to frustration. By letting go of comparison and returning to one's true nature, one can finally realize enlightenment. 28. A Zen meaning in a single sentence. Zen teaches that the sea of suffering is boundless, but turning back is the shore. The way is the principle, and the principle is the heart. When Zen master Liang Quan grew old, he received news from his hometown that his nephew was spending all his time playing around, neglecting his responsibilities and nearly ruining the family. The neighbors hoped the old master would return home and set his nephew straight. Walking for 3 days, Master Liang Quan arrived at the house and said nothing. He simply sat on his bed for the night. The next morning, he spoke to his nephew. "You're getting older, and your hands are trembling. You can't put your shoes on by yourself. Will you help me put mine on?" The nephew, having not seen his uncle for many years, helped him put on his shoes. The master said, "Thank you. Look, when a person grows old, they weaken day by day. You helped me with my shoes because I still hold a small place in your heart. That's why you should take care of yourself and work hard to prepare for your own old age." After saying this, the master left. He didn't mention the nephew's irresponsible behavior at all. From that day forward, the nephew understood the meaning of his uncle's words and stopped living recklessly. Zen wisdom. Enlightenment can come through people, sometimes in a kind inquiry, other times without a word, or through subtle hints. Its nature is not to be blunt, for only when the realization is personal can the path truly be grasped. 29. The true meaning of Jiaozhou Zen Master. Jiaozhou once asked Zen Master Weishan Lingyu, "What is the intention of the Zen patriarchs through the generations?" Master Weishan called his attendant, saying, "Bring a chair over here." Jiaozhou remarked, "Since I became the abbot of my temple, I have yet to meet a true Zen practitioner." Just then, a student standing nearby asked, "If you did meet a true Zen practitioner, what would you do?" Jiaozhou replied, "I would use a bow with the strength of 1,000 pounds to shoot a rat under the water drain, not because I want to hit it." The student then asked, "Who is the father of all Buddhas?" Jiaozhou replied, "Namo Amitabha Buddha." The student asked, "Who is Namo Amitabha Buddha?" Jiaozhou said, "Namo Amitabha Buddha is my disciple." The student later asked Zen Master Changqing about this, saying, "Jiaozhou said that Namo Amitabha Buddha is his disciple. Was this just a way of guiding the student, or was he disregarding the question?" Changqing replied, "If you try to understand this by thinking in terms of duality, you will never grasp the true meaning of Jiaozhou." The student asked, "What is Jiaozhou's true meaning?" Changqing flicked his finger, but the student did not understand and continued to seek answers from Jiaozhou. On another occasion, King Zhao invited Master Jiaozhou to give a Dharma talk. Jiaozhou ascended the Dharma seat and began chanting sutras. A student asked, "Everyone invited you to give a Dharma talk. Why are you chanting sutras?" Jiaozhou replied, "Is a disciple of the Buddha not allowed to chant sutras?" Another time, while others were chanting sutras, Jiaozhou sat cross-legged in silence. A student asked, "Why aren't you chanting sutras?" Jiaozhou replied, "Lucky for me you mentioned chanting, otherwise this old monk might have forgotten." Jiaozhou is one of the most intriguing figures in Zen history. He once said he would shoot an arrow not to hit a rat and referred to Amitabha Buddha as his disciple. When asked to give a talk, he chanted sutras. When it was time to chant, he sat silently. Zen wisdom. Zen masters don't act in opposition to others arbitrarily. A Zen practitioner must transcend duality and embody the essence of forgetting self, others, emotions, circumstances, right and wrong, existence and non-existence. As the saying goes, the most difficult thing throughout history has been to forget. How true this is.